Hello, welcome to my channel. You're here for the briquettes, but I want to tell you first of all, I'm a furniture maker, and this is my waste sawdust that I use. I use coffee from a cafe, which is the other side of that wall. I make furniture like this, and nice pieces like this, and I restore pieces, and I make pieces like that. And other bits for Michelin star restaurants. I also restore and repair cameras, vintage cameras, and I make these briquettes. These are coffee and sawdust briquettes. They burn for over 2 hours. Last year I think I made about 280 of these. This year so far I've made 210, and I'm just mixing some up. I'm now going to add some water. And the water, this is fine dust on there, but we really need to go back to the beginning and show you the start of this process and what we end up with. I've set myself up for a challenge. May last year, May 2024, I made a briquette making video. But I did that video in 14 minutes, and there were areas where I felt it's a bit too quick. I went too quick. I want to slow down a bit. And I did have a few complaints saying the camera movement was too much, whatever. Let me show you what I do. So I'm a woodworker and I make furniture and I teach furniture making. I make beautiful pieces for churches. My machines collect up wood shavings. These wood shavings, and off there and off the floor, which I'm going to do that in a sec. I'm going to put that in there and show you how I mix it. I mix that with coffee and I make briquettes. Which one should we look at? This was made a few days ago. Actually, that make a really good thumbnail. This was made a few days ago, probably 10 days ago or so, and it's drying out a treat. And as you can see, there's little slight mould patches on it. That'll be the coffee. So that's that. Before we start making them, I want to show you this. So this is how I transport them to and from home. I don't sell them. I put them in a box that electric drill came in. And they hold them like that, and I can fill this box. I can get about 22 in here, carry them around with no dust going everywhere. But I want to show you some of these, the different ways you can make these. So as I start making them, you'll say, yeah, but you've got a press. And yes, I've got this press. Does a great job. Not quite as good as that new now. That's about 11 years old. But there are other ways of doing it. And one of the ways is to put things into tubs. These were in a margarine tub, and those were pushed in. And as you can see, it's quite open. It's quite open cell. I do better than that. That's batch 22. This is batch 22, pushed in. These are made of jam jars and tins. And these burn great. These will burn for just about an hour. Whereas these will burn for over 2 hours. That, maybe, I mean, it's quite thin. Don't know, I haven't burnt those yet. There you go, put them in there like that, close the lid down, and I can carry them home. Nice and easy, no dust getting anywhere. Let's get on with making them. Starting with a good sweep up, all the dust and shavings off the floor and into the bucket. If I go through my little book, I can tell you how much wood I've used, how much shavings I've used, how much fine dust, how much coffee grounds. And I keep a record of it. And what that record has done is it's taken me from these looking like wood. Let me just show you. Right, let's look down here. Look at this one. This is from batch number 5. Batch number 5 was a few years ago now. Still got some left over. And as you can see, it's really fibrous. You can see all the wood fibres. Look at this. Look at the difference. Look how dark it is. And look how shrunk back it is. I'll get onto that in a minute. This is shrunk back a bit, but look at that. So that was very fibrous. I remember that one because that one was bandsaw shavings, very fibrous. So here's my coffee grounds, and it's been stood a while, so there's a bit of mould in there. So I'm just going to put a mask on, open the window, put a mask on, and then I'm going to start adding that. Now I'm going to add some water. There you go, half a bowl, and that's starting to get wet. And then I add fine dust. This is the dust from my bandsaw. Add more water, and we're back to where we were earlier. And the next thing to do is get all this thoroughly mixed up. That's what it looks like now. It's still, it looks quite mixed. Let me show you one. This is batch 33. This has been in here about 2 months. And it doesn't look that different. But trust me, it is. Trust me, it is. There's a microbiome thing going on in there. And it's very good. I sometimes have a few flies around. And that's what we need. We need the heat to generate, so leave it for 2 months. But before that, I'm going to add one more bag, 5 kilos of coffee to it. And once we've added this coffee, one of the secret things that I do is I add hot water. Because there's a chemical reaction going on here, and it's going to get hot. By adding hot water, it helps accelerate the process, chemical, biological, whatever it is. But it does help, it does make a difference. So, hot water and mix. So there you go, all mixed up. So there's about 15 kilos of coffee in there. There's about 4 inches of shavings. That's about 12 inches tall. That's about it. I can tell you now, and I'm going to see if I can find the clip. I should have a clip here now showing that I checked the pH level at this point. So this has been 2 or 3 months in there, and it measures pH 7. This has been mixed up in here. That can go in there. That's only been mixed up in the last hour. So let's see where that goes in the next 2 minutes. And the pH level is 7, which is neutral. So this is pH 7 neutral. And after 2 months, it's still pH 7 neutral. But the chemical reaction that's happened is quite shocking. I'm going to try and show you. There are little tiny bugs. Can't do it, can't show you. I end up with lots of little tiny bugs on the bottom of each one. They dry out and die off quite quickly. But there's something going on in there. It's the heat, it's a chemical reaction, hot composting, it's that sort of thing. Right, what to do then? Well, the thing to do when you've got that done is put a cover over it, label it up, come back in 2 months. One of the best things I've done is keep a record of the batch numbers, the ingredients, the date, maybe the amounts, whatever notes needed to be written down, and then when I come to make the briquettes, how many briquettes I get out of that, and then notes on the back of that sheet of the results on how well they're burning. And let me tell you, it's well worth doing, because you can just refer to it and make sure that you're heading in the right direction, because at the end of the day, heat and the length of burn is the most important thing. Okay, just another quick one just to tell you just how hot this is. Piece of oak, batch 17 briquettes, batch 17 briquettes, and the heat, I can't get near it. Look at the colour of the heat in there. It's deceptive. It's pumping out more heat than it looks like it does. This batch was done 2 months ago, and let's have a look, see what we've got. Let's put that on there. I don't want to get mixed up, so that can go back for that. Now that can go over here. As I start making these, they can go on here in the batch numbers there, just like down here. This is batch 31, so that is batch 31. 29, I got a huge amount after 29 and 30, huge amount. I think it's the coffee. Right, let's get back to these. Let's see what we've got. So what we're after is, I mean, it's like soil. it smells like soil, but there's a few flies around. There's a few little tiny bits. There's some sort of mite. And it actually does smell like soil. So this has been here through all of this hot weather we've had in the UK. I'm now hopefully going to start. It looks a bit dry. So the way to tell if it's right is, can I scrunch it up? If I scrunch it up, will it hold its shape? Yeah, it's not bad. Maybe I add a bit of water. Not much. I'm going to add a bit of water and I'm going to mix that up so that it's an even mix throughout. Fully mixed up. And it's pretty good. Let's have a quick grip test. Yeah, I mean, it's probably a little bit too wet. I tend to make them a bit too wet. There's some nice lumps of wood in there. There's all sorts in there. Right, let's get on with squeezing them in this thing. So, I put that under there. Put that there so that it's positioned above it, so any water that leaks out here runs down there into the bucket. So that's ready. Before we start, let's go over some of the tools that I need. This is my way of holding the briquette down when I'm extracting it from the cage. This is my filler, so it's just a piece of wood, but I find that great for filling and tamping down in there. And this old scraper does a really good job of cleaning up after me. So put that there. Let's see if we can make one one-handed. So here it is. And I tamp it down really quite close to the bottom. I'm after some sort of consistency, but I find that if I tamp it down, it takes air bubbles out and stops it splurging back over the top of this. So once I've done that, I put weight on here, push that down, water starts coming out of there. And the idea isn't to put too much weight on it. We don't want to actually starve it of water. If we let go of the handle and let it suck back into the briquette, if we lift this up and let the water drip off there back into the briquette then will compress and we'll end up with quite an indent. There isn't one on that one. There is on the side. You can just see they're indented. They're indented because they shrink back, and all the water that contains all of the little tiny coffee fibres, the coffee powder, whatever you want to call it, all of that dries and shrinks and makes it rock hard. These things are really hard. I'll cut one in half in a bit and show you. Now I've got to get it out, and this is where I need two hands. So bear with me. So I push the cage forward. There is a handle, but I push the cage forward. I squeeze the sides together and carefully take it out. And as you can see, it's in pretty good condition. I sometimes lose the back corners. That's where I get this. Get those back corners. And somehow, not easy for you to do this, is it? And then I put that back in there. So then I put this down here. I put that on there like so. I get my tool, which I fit in there, and then I extract like that. It doesn't normally fall apart like that. It's because I'm making a video. There you go. Take that off there. I sometimes flatten them out, sort some of their problems out. But that's essentially it. That's the first briquette. And out of a bucket like that, I'll make about 30 to 40. That will take up about 20% of my space there, 25% of my space there. And they'll dry on this rack for about 3 weeks, maybe 4, depending on the time of year. I hope you've got something from this video. Please like, share, subscribe. Share it with somebody you know who's maybe a gardener, or somebody who drinks a lot of coffee, or anybody you know who you think, actually, this is a really good way of saving money, looking after the environment a bit, burning your own waste, sustainably, burning your own waste. It's not waste, human waste, whatever. It's a great fuel. It's been proven it's a great fuel. It burns 20 to 30% hotter than equivalent piece of wood. When you see the briquette sitting in the fire and all the wood from around it is burnt away, and yet you put it all on at the same time, you then realise just how powerful, just how much energy these have got in them. When you've got a couple in, and you open the door and you feel the heat coming from it, it makes so much sense. So burn your coffee grounds, or you can put them straight onto the garden after a couple of months, put them on the garden, mix it in. It doesn't do the garden any harm at all. pH 7. Right. Like, share, subscribe, all the rest. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next video, which won't be about briquettes. It'll be about furniture. In fact, I think it's about cameras. Next one is about cameras. Thanks for watching. Cheers.